What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines and rumors surrounding the Washington Wizards. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to drop your comments as well with any thoughts you have for me on this video or anything you want to hear me talk about in the future. I thank those of you who are tuning in every single weekday and consistently down in that comment section. Today, I want to start jumping into some of my season predictions for this year with the NBA regular season getting started this week. Wizards basketball getting started Wednesday, October 22nd at the Milwaukee Bucks. Start talking about my predictions for the team and some individual players. We'll discuss the latest roster move the Wizards have made. And lastly, I'll give you a possible target from around the league. Again, guys, thanks for tuning in to the page. And again, with those predictions, I want to start diving into the Wizards season, of course, getting started here this week. The DraftKings total, or over under, I should say, for the Wizards win total currently sits at 20 and a half wins for the 2025-26 season. I'm going to go just a little bit over that win total with my prediction. I think the Wizards win 23 games this year, which would be a 5-win improvement from last season. Now, here's the thing. I think there's some obvious holes, to be quite honest, in the roster. There's sort of a lack of big man depth. No matter what you think of Alex Sarr, there's not a whole bunch of options to work with there at the 4 and 5 spots. Really, with Sarr, we're relying on Marvin Bagley, Tristan Vukcevic to be his backups, and there really isn't a true power forward on the roster right now. I think that honestly is slightly intentional. Again, we all understand the situation with the draft pick next year. But I do think that this roster, and honestly, more specifically, the players on it, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, who we're going to talk more about in this video, I think they've taken steps forward as players, and I think you're going to see that reflect on the court. I also think CJ McCollum, just early on in the season, is going to give you some big performances that might just pull out a few games there in that way as well, with that, veteran guard just going off. And again, the Wizards are going to give him ample opportunities to boost his trade value and try to move him at some point this year. So, my win total for the team this season is 23. Let me know what you think about that down in the comment section. Again, thank you guys for consistently being down in that comment section as well. So, let's move on to an individual player prediction I have for this upcoming season. And also, another thing, if you're thinking or looking for ideas to drop down below, let me know who else you want me to talk about as this week progresses. Again, going to continue to dive into some of these individual expectation discussions here this week as opening night for Wizards basketball approaches. But let's talk about Alex Sarr. And first off, I'll give you his numbers from last season. 67 games played on the year, averaged exactly 13 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and a block and a half in his rookie season. Now, the counting stats, no problem really there. The percentages are where things went wrong for Sarr. Only 39% from the floor in his rookie season, only 30% from beyond the arc. And that's really where, over this offseason, I think the fan base and Sarr himself have acknowledged improvement has to be made. I think the numbers in terms of just, the points, rebounds, I think those averages are going to be similar to last year, maybe a tick up. I'm expecting about 14 and a half points, maybe 7.5 boards per game. I think Sarr's actually shown a pretty good ability to pass the ball, especially out of, pick and roll situations where he catches it in the high post. I actually think that's maybe been a little bit of an underrated skill set that he has right now. So I think that assist total is going to stay in a similar place as well, maybe up a little bit, maybe around 3 assists per game. But I think those shooting percentages are really going to take a step forward for Alex Sarr. He has mentioned and talked about, again, the things we have been saying as well. Have to, just stop shot chucking so much, has to get closer to the hoop with more of his field goal attempts, and I think we're going to see that translate onto the court this year. I think when we've seen him on the floor this summer, to be quite honest, even in the limited Eurobasket action we saw from him, even in the preseason, I think that is something that was definitely noticeable. His, attempts to get closer to the rim. And I think that's going to lead to maybe a field goal percentage. I'm not going to say it's going to be up at, 50, 55 yet this year, but I think we could get that up from 39% to maybe, in the 45% or 39%. I think we can maybe get that to, 45, 46% on the year. Really struggled, not just from 3-point land last year. He struggled from 2-point land as well. And I think if he can make more of or convert more of his attempts there, that will be a huge thing for him. Another thing with Alex Sarr, and the last sort of stat I haven't mentioned with him, is the blocks per game. I think that block number is going to be up around a couple blocks per game. He was top 10 in the league last year, according to Basketball Reference, in block percentage, which means he blocked about 5% of the 2-point field goal shots he saw when he was on the court. This puts him about a percentage point behind guys like Anthony Davis, Miles Turner, Walker Kessler, elite rim protectors in the NBA. I think we're going to see Alex Sarr's block numbers continue to improve this year. So, kind of run you through some of the stat totals. Again, let me know what other individual players you want to discuss here this week as opening night gets a little bit closer. But moving on here today, let's discuss the final roster cut the team has made, and that man was Dylan Jones. And as you guys know, they entered training camp with 16 standard contracts. So really throughout, at some point, someone had to go. A lot of people were expecting it really to either be Jones or Malachi Branham. Jones looks to be the loser of that battle. No disrespect to him, but of course, coming up on the short end of that stick. Was this the right decision? A lot of people, still thought of pretty highly, I think, of Dylan Jones, a former first-round pick, but has been waived by the Wizards, and again, getting their regular season roster down to 15 standard contracts. Last thing I want to talk about today, and from around the league, and on the topic of former first round picks being waived, let's talk Kobe Buffkin. He was waived by the Brooklyn Nets, former first rounder from Michigan, a 6'4 guard. It's really just struggled with injuries in his first couple seasons in the league. That's kind of hampered his time down with the Atlanta Hawks. Was traded for cash in a little bit of a surprise move to Brooklyn last month, and he's been waived. And this has been a player on Wizards Twitter I have seen interest in. A lot of people thinking, hey, another 22-year-old. This is kind of the Will Dawkins specialty. Let's take a flyer on a young player that, hasn't quite found his footing in the NBA yet. Again, the standard contract spots on the roster are full, but you wonder if maybe he could be picked up by the Go-Go, play with the G League here this year. He's been a player that's really lit it up in Summer League, in G League action so far in his career. It's just been on the NBA level. It either hasn't translated, or when he's gotten his opportunity, he's been slowed down by injury. But let me know your thoughts on that or anything else you heard in the video down in that comment section. Once again, guys, I appreciate all the support here on the road to 1K. I thank those of you tuning in every single weekday. If you haven't already, make sure you've hit those like and subscribe buttons. And thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.